Kuzan debuted on the global version of OPTC on the 16th of March 2020. Originally made his first appearance on the Korean version of the game, he swiftly arrived on global a couple of months after. This Sugofest exclusive had a captain ability akin to previously released V2 Mihawk and V2 Sanji, providing chain boosting mechanics. His special was somewhat useful, providing a powerful slot effect boost and affinity boost to 3 separate types, introducing uncompromised determination and justice, Kuzan. In this series, we'll be traveling back in time to experience some of the older Sugofest exclusive characters in their prime, aiming to show just what it was like to use these characters on their debut. I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's enter the Legends of OPTC. So thank you very much for checking out yet another episode of the Legends of OPTC, and in this video we're going to be covering V3 Legend Kuzan. Now this is a kind of an interesting release because this character actually originally released on the Korean version of the game first, to my recollection. Then it briefly made its way to global a couple of months after Korea, and then eventually, when Pirate Rumble debuted for the first time in One Piece Treasure Cruise Japan, I believe is when Kuzan made his debut on that banner alongside these characters here, with Otama, Jozu, and Cat Viper being the first Rumble rare recruits in the game. But Kuzan, he was an interesting character on release, and considering how exclusive it was, you know, it was only on Korea and global first, people actually really wanted this guy. But when you look back in hindsight and what this character actually does, he's really just kind of average. Now, he doesn't really see a lot of play these days. He does have some niche usages with that crewmate ability, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Kuzan, this character is a quick free spirit shooter, so pretty good class and type combination here. His captain ability says that if your crew only consists of strength, dex, and quick characters, which means you can still run a full strength team, full dex, or a full quick team, you don't need one of each color like a Legend Lucy, for example. It just says as long as there's no Psi or Int characters, you get a chain multiplier growth rate boost of 4x, boosting attack of those characters by 1.75 times, and then make strength dex and quick slots beneficial for strength dex and quick characters. So, you know, the character is relatively similar in terms of Legend Sanji V2, that is, in terms of giving a chain multiplicative boost as well as an attack boost. This combination isn't the greatest, as, you know, we've seen in the past. These characters can do really good damage when you go to that top end, you know, the 5th or 6th hit of your chain will do very good damage, but it's the fact that, just generally speaking, it's not the best captain ability. You know, it's much better to have just a really high multiplier rather than try and, you know, grow your multiplier throughout the turn. So not really the biggest fan of chain boosting captains, never really have been. I don't think I ever will be, as you know, a lot of the time I feel like they kind of overrate this mechanic because they typically don't give these chain multiplier growth rate captains much else to surround them with. They just give them this massive chain multiplier boost, and that's kind of it. They don't really give them a whole lot. So it's that slight attack boost and then strength dex quick slots beneficial. That's kind of it. So it's not the greatest. No HP boost, no cooldown, no healing. So it is what it is, right? Moving on, the crewmate ability. This is the crewmate ability that's interesting, where you get 9 times attack as additional damage, as like tap timing bonus damage. People will often build like Legend Marco teams for EXP boosting teams to clear those turtle islands with a bunch of those crewmate abilities to give you tap timing bonus damage. And you know, that crewmate ability is actually somewhat useful today. But in a lot of cases, it's kind of worthless because normal attacks only does negate this effect altogether. Moving on to the special, this character is actually pretty usable as a crewmate considering what he does. Strength dex and quick orb boost 2.25 for 1 turn, and then a color affinity of strength dex and quick characters 1.75 times for 1 turn, and make perfects easier to hit for that turn as well. So pretty basic special, but it's good because you can partner this up with an attack booster and you have all of the buffs that you could possibly need in order to get through content. Now, this obviously partners very well with the recently, well, not recently released, but around the same time on Japan when this guy originally came out, there was also V3 Akainu, and that character was a conditional booster, a self-proccing one at that, as well as an attack booster. He removed barriers and stuff like that. So that Akainu partnered really well with this Kuzan, and you could get a lot of buffs just with these two characters together. But normally speaking, he's not really the greatest. Of course, he did debut when Rumble came out, so he was given Rumble abilities. But his Rumble abilities really weren't the greatest either. You know, very small attack buffs, HP and speed buffs. I mean, when Rumble first came out, that's not a bad Rumble ability. But then his special ability, a large radial range, and then does a special bind to one enemy for the highest attack, and it's just, you know, he needs a bit of a buff. The thing about that is he doesn't have level limit break, he doesn't have a super evolution, so there is room for this guy to grow, and I'm excited to see what they could potentially do, not only with this guy with the super evolution, but also that new Sakazuki too, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes in the future. But that is it, that is the breakdown of Kuzan. Let's go ahead and use him as a captain today in some content. So now we're in game with my man Kuzan, V3 Aokiji, and we're going to be taking on one of the admirals actually, Borsalino, and this is just going to be a mono quick team, as this boss is actually a strength focused boss. There's going to be a lot of strength enemies here, and this is where Kuzan really would shine, is when you would want to build a mono quick team. And of course, we know that his captain ability has great uses of, you know, badly matching slots being changed into matching, due to the fact that we are running a mono quick team. Whenever we get dex slots, they're going to be treated as beneficial with our captain, which is a huge benefit to this unit. But of course, around this time period, we already had access to some pretty powerful units. So while Kuzan had some interesting mechanics, a lot of people didn't really opt to really use him as a captain in a lot of cases. Still a very good use as a crewmate though, and hopefully we can just showcase what he's able to do as a captain. In terms of some of the subs that we're using today, we've got a couple of free-to-play units and some rare recruits. Now we are using that Akainu. That Akainu was out at the time of this character's release, and it's actually a really nice unit for this Kuzan captain. But of course, the main thing is we need to stall for cooldowns, and that's always going to be a really annoying thing. And one of the things with this captain, in the fact that he is a chain captain, makes it just a little bit more annoying to kill some of these mob characters, due to the fact that Kuzan has the captain ability where he is a chain multiplier focused captain rather than an attack boost focused captain. Means that his multiplier, at least at the start of the chain, is really bad. You're literally getting 0 attack boost for your squad. So it's a pretty big downside. And obviously another big downside is we don't have a health boost either, so we're quite squishy in terms of HP, which is not really fun. But we're doing okay. We're getting a lot of turns of stall in here, which is going to be good. It means we can just kind of steamroll the rest of the bosses here. Let's go ahead and move on. And you can see even after 2 perfects, we can't even kill that turtle. Just the multipliers are just so bad. And wow, we actually get Ericv, which does not happen often, but it's fine. We didn't really care for that. As long as we can showcase this character against some of the bosses, that's the best thing that we need to really worry about. First boss here is going to be against Sentomaru, and he has a couple of really annoying gimmicks. He does have Threshold on his side of the field, which is annoying, but also a full board of badly matching slots is given to the crew, and remember with Kuzan's captain, he'll treat those as matching, so that's fantastic. And we can use the special ability of this Colosseum Magellan, which when this character came out was one of the best free-to-play units in the game, providing good utility, conditional boosting effects, good class and type combination was just really solid. And just with that alone, we're going to have you know, the conditional boost. We got rid of the threshold, the defensive effect on the opponent's side of the field, and this should give us a pretty good amount of damage to just kill this guy by itself. So here we go, let's do it. You see that chain multiplier going all the way up to 25 times when you hit 5 perfects. It's a pretty big deal. It just sucks that, you know, he doesn't have any attack boost to go along with that 25 times multiplier. And the thing is due to the fact that they've introduced so many chain focus buffs in the game, chain boundary, chain multiplicative buff, and of course the typical chain addition, but also the tap timing chain edition thingamajiggy. I don't even know what it's officially called, but you know, the one that, you know, Super Tandem Law and Super Tandem Kid introduced into the game. You know, all of these chain effects are actually pretty good, specifically chain multiplicative buff, and I believe the tap timing chain thing all actually work very well with these chain multiplier focused captains. But the thing is chain boundary is kind of interesting, because you can actually make the chain go so high with these chain multiplier boosting captains that chain boundary will actually reach that max boundary capacity, which kind of actually nerfs your damage. So it's interesting to see how that kind of progresses, and I just don't think we'll see too many characters with a captain ability such as this moving forward into the future, just because of the annoyance that they are really to use. That's just, there's not really an ease of use kind of thing, like a Gear 5 Luffy, which is just these flat boosts with massive multipliers and utility, and you got this guy where you have to consistently hit your perfects to actually get any type of attack boost at all, which is kind of frustrating. But I digress. Let's talk about Sakazuki. Once again, full board of badly matching slots, paralysis, and despair. Lucky for us, this pudding can deal with those debuffs pretty comfortably, removing 4 turns of despair and paralysis for the crew, so we can just start dealing damage again. And with this as well, we will be able to go ahead and use one of the Kuzan specials. And Kuzan special is one of the reasons why people really like this guy, is because he provides a really solid orb boost and color affinity simultaneously. He does make perfects easier to hit as well, which goes in tandem with his captain ability, where you want to consistently hit those perfects so that you can raise that chain multiplier up as much as you possibly can. So by doing that, we get color affinity and an orb boost, which is the 2.25 times orb boost, and then only a 1.75 color affinity. If a character such as this came out nowadays, those multipliers would be bumped way up. He doesn't have a super evolution yet, which is the interesting thing. This guy with a super evolution may actually be somewhat useful. We'll have to wait and see. But we have the orb and color affinity boost, so this should be enough to get the kill versus Sakazuki. Let's get it. Very comfortable amount of damage there. 10 million damage. Yeah, no issues at all. Boss stage now, which is going to be against Borsalino. This guy was a pretty annoying piece of content. The thing is that he does do a pretty hefty death hit, so we have to be very cautious of that, and that is the whole reason why we actually have the Orobi on the team, because this character has the ability to actually resist or negate the damage that we will receive from strength and psi enemies for 1 turn. So basically, any damage that Kizaru aims to do to us is just negated, so we just don't have to worry about that at all. Then we have the Akainu here, who will give us an attack boost, so it's going to give us a 1.75 times attack. It will also change the slots that we currently have into matching, and that will allow us to go ahead and use the Kuzan special to once again get a 2.25 times orb boost and a 1.75 color affinity boost. And then of course, when we hit our perfects, that chain multiplier is going to go way up, and that's going to be the way that we hopefully get the kill here. Kuzan obviously does make perfects easier to hit, which is kind of important because the Kizaru does have a perfect hit barrier. Just to actually have a look really quick, if I go to the active effects and ability list. So yeah, so we've got Pudding here, who does have a barrier pierce. Magellan has barrier pierce. The Kuzans have barrier pierce. So ideally here, we're going to start our chain with Pudding and Magellan, because those characters will still bypass the barrier. Even though they're at the start of the chain, they're not going to do as much damage, but they will be able to still hit Kizaru despite that barrier. And then we can finish with the Orobi and the Akainu and hopefully get the kill with the 2 Kuzan. So here we go. Hopefully we can get that kill. Boom, there we go. 44 million damage, I believe that was. That's pretty crazy. The multiplier scale is pretty crazy when you get in towards the end of that chain. Like, the amount of chain you have is just absurd. And of course, Orobi is going to enable us to block all that damage that would have came from Borsalino. So no problems there at all. Kuzan, a really fun character to use in content, but unfortunately, due to his design, a lot of people opted to use a lot of other characters instead of this guy for this type of content. But still, really, really fun to use him. So that's going to wrap up this video today. Thank you you so much for watching, and looking forward into next week, we are going to be covering Halloween Ace. I keep forgetting when that character actually came out, but I did double check. The Halloween Ace debuted after this character's release, and Halloween Ace is such a powerful character, still sees a lot of play in today's day and age as a captain or as a crewmate, and even as a support too, so we're going to be covering him in next week's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed the video today, and if you guys did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.